Well, hello everyone, and thanks for listening to the Quality Hub, chatting with ISO experts. I'm your host today, Xavier Francis, and I'm here with Rick Krick, Director of Security Solutions here at Core. Glad you could join us again.
Happy to be here.
We're back and we're going to be diving again into CMMC, and it is now law. So for our listeners that deal with DoD contracts, this is it for you. So what happens if you're not fully ready yet? Can you still compete at all?
Yeah, you want to start working on this right now, because right now there's going to be some of the contracts that will require you to be compliant, not certified, but compliant, which means that you have to do a self-assessment on all of the 110 controls, and it will allow you to have what we call POAM items, plan of action and milestone things, a plan, a date. When will we have all of these controls in place?
Okay.
So it is a self-assessment that's already in place for all these contracts. Everyone has to have a SPRS score in there to get contracts today. And the difference is it's a self-certification.
Gotcha. I've also heard something about conditional certification. What's that mean?
Yeah. So conditional certification would be if I have a C3 PAO that has assessed me, I am allowed to have some POAM items, but it's very specific.
Okay.
In the rating system, every practice or control is assigned a value of either 1, 3, or 5.
Okay.
So that conditional certification means that I can have a few 1-point issues that I haven't fully met, but I have 180 days to get those fully in place. And it can't be just any of the 1-point practices. You could have a POAM item, but the key is you have 180 days to get that in place, or you would lose that conditional certification.
So it's just number 1.
Yes.
With scores of number 1, 3 is not good, and 5 is right out. To quote Monty Python. Yeah. That's just don't go there.
Nope.
All righty. So let's look at impacts. How do these new DFAR clauses affect prime contractors and their subcontractors and suppliers?
Well, that's a really good question. So we know the primes who are awarded the contracts need to be compliant or certified. There is the flow down responsibility, which means that any of the subcontractors working under the primes that handle CUI have to be certified as well or compliant as well.
Okay.
So they have to be the same level as the primes are. So it's a flow down. So if I am going to be handing off CUI to a subcontractor, they have to be certified or compliant. If that subcontractor has yet another place that they pass it down to, they have to be compliant. So you could have a second, third tier subcontractor that wasn't compliant that could cause the prime to lose their contract. It is critical to understand that there's a flow down, that everybody that I pass down the road, that CUI to, has to be at the same level that the prime does.
Wow. That's pretty serious.
It is.
And I'm sure the primes don't want to lose their contracts, so they're gonna they're gonna be taking care of this and making sure of things as well.
And honestly, a lot of the pressure right now has been coming from primes, not from the DoD. The primes have been sending out letters and memorandums and saying, "Hey, we need to know where you are in this journey of being CMMC certified."
Right.
And I've seen a number of those forms that they've passed off to the subcontractors saying, okay, we want you to analyze, where are you? You know, do you have POAM items, and what are they? And when do you plan to get those, corrected? So,
and why don't you have a SPRS score? You're really at risk here.
Yeah. So if you want to do business, you have to tell us what your SPRS score is, and so forth. So,
and whether you like it or not, that was actually probably kind of smart for the government to say, we're going to have the primes make sure that, you don't lose your contract. You're going to make sure all your subcontractors have it.
So that's where a lot of the pressure has been coming from too, in the recent past.
Yeah. So really if you're somebody that's in that supply chain that's not a prime, which is probably most of our customers listening, you're going to have a competitive edge when primes are scrambling to find partners.
That's right. That's right. So you want to be prepared for your prime asking you, hey, can you attest to?
Yeah. Yeah. So smaller companies, they can stand up by being proactive, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you're going to be working on that right now because it's not, you can't get certified overnight.
Right.
And you can't be compliant overnight. Depending on what kind of solution you have. Maybe you have an enclave like our enclave.
Yeah. We just happen to have the core vault, right?
Yeah, we have the core vault. Plug.
No, but we designed it. We designed that specifically to meet these requirements.
Absolutely.
For those small people or small businesses that have a limited amount of CUI that
absolutely
they don't have to lock their whole system down.
Absolutely. So it takes time to put things in place. And so you don't want to wait till the 11th hour.
Right.
Now you're competing for people's time.
Yeah.
Assessors' time, you know, the consultants that are helping you put the controls in place.
Even your MSSP.
Yeah.
They're going to be in really high demand.
Exactly.
So,
so once again, you know, maybe you want to be compliant, but you don't have the ability because you waited too long to hire people in a timely fashion.
With that in mind, where do you think most contractors sit today when it comes to their terms of readiness? Let's talk about the whole DIB, right? Let me just divine that out of your brain. I know, but
sitting in on a lot of the webinars and town hall meetings and on. I would say that probably the majority of the DIB is not ready. Percentage-wise, I can't guess. But
there was a recent survey that says less than 1% of suppliers are fully ready, and many still have a negative SPRS score. So that's not, like you said, not a whole lot of people are there. And how do you find that, you know, readiness being available, but what can companies do to really achieve that at this point?
I think people need to look at the scope for the certifications, scope of compliancy. And what I mean by that is, what are the boundaries that I put around this handling of CUI? Right. Am I going to put my entire network into scope, which is costly and time consuming? Because
and a lot of chances for failure.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot that goes involved here. Not only all of your devices that you have to make sure that are compliant, things like multi-factor authentication for every device. One of the bigger challenges is we have to monitor everything on our network. Right. Not only do we have to monitor, we have to have audit logs. So the logging and the monitoring and the maintenance becomes a big deal.
I mean, even a printer is in scope if you print out CUI.
Absolutely.
So now, does it have to be in a locked room? Probably. Who has access to that? There's just so many things. And that's why some of these enclave devices, it is a good solution for a lot of people.
Because now we can limit the scope. It's one virtual machine, if you will.
Certain people have access.
Exactly. So you control that access and you can meet those controls
a little bit easier.
So and there's a lot of enclaves out there. But once again, do your research.
Yeah. See if we're one that fits. If not, at least you know they're there. And you can also reach out to us and listen to some of our past webinars. I'll have that in the description if you're interested in what enclaving is, if you're not familiar in that.
Absolutely.
Now, once you're certified, you said the work doesn't stop there.
Oh, no.
You have to be reaffirmed annually. What else do you have to do other than the annual reaffirming?
Well, I think what you're looking at is you need to make sure that you keep your SPRS or EMAS up to date.
Okay.
I may do everything, but don't forget to update that SPRS in your EMAS. I've actually had customers because even today, being compliant requires that annually you go in and update the information. I've had clients that have not done that, and the contracting officer says, I can't award you the contract because you're not up to date.
So they did it. So they did it last September.
Yeah.
And we're not even
so they didn't keep it up to date. And so, and once again, they have to go and review, make sure that all the controls are in place, put the new latest date, what was the latest date that I did this assessment, and put that in there. So you have to keep your database up to date, up to speed. You have to make sure that, all of your, nothing's changed.
Right.
Everything
Your records are the same, or they're updated.
Documentation's up to date. And that's a weakness sometimes.
Yeah.
We may have everything up to date, but our documentation doesn't show that we made this change here, which is perfectly fine to make that change, but we didn't document it.
And you have to maintain that evidence, it's still covered, you're still secure, right. And the records show that.
Absolutely. Maintaining that documentation. So, and that evidence is so critical.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be asked about that.
Yeah. There's no take our word for it in this.
No, it's show me.
Right. Show me the money, show me the evidence.
Yes, indeed.
So talk a little bit about continuous compliance. What does that mean under the new rule?
Well, it just means that you have to make sure that you are meeting each and every one of those requirements, those practices or controls, continually monitoring it. You can't say, I'm going to put it all in place and then walk away from it and forget about it.
Okay.
You have to there's continual monitoring. For example, if I have a breach, if I'm not monitoring my system, then how am I going to know if I ever have a breach or I have an issue? So you have to monitor continuously. And they have tools that will help you.
Right.
Things like SIMs and, RMM tools and things like that help you to monitor all of that. And if we see an issue, then you have to address it. And then you have to show.
Well, you have to report it too, don't you? I mean, if you have a breach, however minor, you need to let the DoD know that, correct?
Yeah, you have 72 hours in order to report that.
Wow.
So there is a time limit that you have in order to report a breach. And then you have to make sure that you have to have access to the DoD's DibNet where you report the issue.
Yep.
So part of what compliance is doing tests to make sure that everything's in place. I mean, just so many things that you have to make sure. Another area is training for your people to make sure they know if there's an issue, who do I let know?
Yeah.
I found an issue, or there's somebody wandering around my facility.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do with that?
Yeah.
So
why were they in there where the CUI machines kept?
Yeah, exactly. So there's
CUI
training.
machine. I meant like if you're dealing with a specific computer that's based or an enclave that would access, or the computer that would access the enclave.
You have CNC machines for manufacturing and other types of things that, could have CUI on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What happens if companies don't maintain their compliance? You said that you can lose contracts, maybe some lawsuits if something's found, but what else?
Basically, that's the big one. If you don't stay compliant, you'll lose your certification.
Mm-hmm.
You'll lose the contract. Depending, you could get a fine because you're handling CUI, but you're no longer compliant.
What if you're a subcontractor to a prime then? I'm sure the prime is going to have something in your contract that says if you violate and do not stay in compliance, so you're dealing with my point there is you might be dealing with two things.
Mm-hmm.
You might be dealing with the prime coming down on you and having whatever repercussions they put in a contract, as well as the government coming at you and say you weren't compliant.
Yeah, and I've seen that already today,
Mm-hmm.
where now this was kind of an extreme, but a prime said to a subcontractor, because you are not compliant, I'm not accepting any of your product. So the subcontractor, it was a manufacturing facility, produced maybe $100,000 worth of parts. And the prime said, I'm not going to accept any of them until you are compliant. So they sat with that product, couldn't get paid for it.
And they're not making new product.
No.
Probably shut down the line. So
it can be a big deal.
That is a big deal, especially if that's your main bread and butter would be that prime.
Exactly. And some are. Wow. That's, their only work that they have. Others, it might be a small percentage.
Right.
But even still, that's an expenditure, lost revenue, potentially.
Yeah.
And then you have all of your costs associated with
that.
Right.
And then you got to prove it, give them evidence, and then they have to say, okay, now we'll take it. Let's start again. Wow.
Another reason to get in compliance sooner than later.
So with wrapping this up, give us a few takeaways. What should contractors do today? You did say, don't wait. I heard that, but what else?
Yeah. Once again, start early. That's all we're
yesterday.
saying. And it's yesterday. And maybe it's moving it to the top of your to-do list.
Oh, I like that idea.
You know, it may be down there something that you are always going to get to it. You know, it's that list, you know, I'm going to get to it.
Or maybe in the manager meeting, okay, that's not law yet. We'll push it.
Yeah.
Well, now it needs to pop up.
Move it up there to the top. We have to deal with this today.
Yep.
The second takeaway that I would say is narrow your scope as much as possible.
Okay.
Keep your boundaries small. Don't include your entire network unless you have to. So,
and you can always expand it later,
can.
You know, if you absolutely have to.
Right. So look at, and what we deal with when I deal with clients, let's look at your workflow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's look at where does that CUI travel within your organization? Who has to have access to it? And can we change our workflow a little bit to reduce our scope or our boundaries without jeopardizing our production?
Yeah.
Can we kind of reduce that scope, reduce those boundaries? So look at your workflow. Can we readjust it so that we have fewer people handling that CUI?
This brings in a lot of ISO and thought where look at your processes. How can you change them? And
Yes.
also least privilege from a 27001, you know, where if they don't need to have access to CUI, then they shouldn't have access to CUI.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
you
So
know,
all that's all part of that.
That scope, yeah.
And then I would say, make sure you document everything. And over the years, doing ISO audits and, you know, moving to the CMMI and, you know, some of those other standards that we supported over the years, one of the biggest things is that documentation.
Yeah.
Make sure you document things and that you have evidence, and make sure that you keep it up to date.
Right.
And then it's accessible to the people that need to have access to that documentation. So documentation is a big stinking deal within the NIST CMMC.
So one thing, and again, not to necessarily sell it to you, but our core compliance platform from ISO years and years has had document control. It's had ways to revise different updates, let you know when it's time to review something, whether it's a document or other thing. That would be a great way to help with that documentation where you're storing it.
Yep.
You can control it. It can tell you when something needs to be, you know, updated. So you're not just putting it on your calendar, but it can tell you specific things when they need to be documented.
Yep. The approval process is built in there.
Yep.
Sends you some email saying you need time to reapprove or whatever.
Yeah.
So we use that for our process
And
too.
that's part of our vault solution as well,
That is
correct?
part of that.
So it's not just locking it away in an AWS GovCloud that's certified the way it needs to be for CMMC. It's also some of these other tools that help you for that documented proof you need.
Yeah, there's policies that you have to have and procedures and all those, you know, documentations that you have to maintain.
And we give some consulting with that as well.
We absolutely do.
So again, this might sound like a commercial, but it's one of those things where we'd like to show that we've looked at this, we understand it, and we can really support our customers that need it. Well, this has been great today, Rick. Really appreciate you being here. I know I've been part of the 5 years with a lot of webinars we've done and talked about CMMC ad nauseum. And it feels like it's almost probably, it's going to happen in here.
It is.
You know, barring who knows what.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a perfect summary. Really, again, appreciate it, Rick. And good luck with everything you're doing with Core and outside.
You're welcome.
I want to thank everyone who's listened to our podcast today. We hope it's been informative for you. Now, if you're looking for more information about Core Business Solutions, now that we are an LRQA company, how we can help you with CMMC, just like we do with ISO certification and cybersecurity, please email us at info@thecoresolution.com. And you can also visit our website at www.thecoresolution.com. We also have some information there that goes through some of our CMMC webinars in the past. If you're not sure what we were talking about and you need some clarification, please check that out as well. And if you haven't already followed us on your podcast platform or YouTube, please be sure to do so. That way you won't miss the next Quality Hub podcast when it's released next week. Have a great day, everyone.